So, as I promised, we're moving right into the next session, and I'd like to welcome to the stage our moderator for the next session, which is Thomas Crampton. He's the Asia Pacific Social Media Director of Ogilvy and Mather. So Thomas, welcome. And I'd like to welcome Anthony Z, Head of Music of YouTube Asia Pacific, and he's going to be showing a short video as well. And finally, Gidio Zarella is standing here, clients and innovation partner at KPMG. So maybe what we should do to kick off this next session is to show the video. So why don't we, you want to do that? Show the video. Okay.
Rewind YouTube style.
낮에는 따사로운 인간적인 여자, 커피 한 잔에 여유를 아는 품격 있는 여자, 밤이 오면 심장이 뜨거워지는 여자, 그런 반전 있는 여자. 너는 선호해, 낮에는 너만큼 따사로운 그런 선호해, 커피 식기도 전에 원샷 때리는 선호해, 밤이 오면 심장이 터져버리는 선호해, 그런 선호해. 아름다워 사랑스러워 그래 너 hey. 그래 바로 너 hey. 아름다워 사랑스러워 그래 너 hey. 그래 바로 너 hey. 지금부터 갈 때까지 가볼까
오빤 강남 스타일. 강남 스타일. 오빤 강남 스타일. 강남 스타일. 오빤 강남 스타일.
So, thank you very much. If you are not on this panel, you're welcome to stay up and join the panel if you'd like. Some great panels today. A lot of focus on startups, VCs. Is Hong Kong relevant? Can Hong Kong have a startup culture? What's nice to see is people are exchanging name cards here, which is a good thing. But if you want to exchange name cards, maybe if we move off to the side. Unless you would like to join the panel. Okay, we'll have a moment of silence as we wait for the front to clear. Okay, we've just had a video, Anthony, you run music for Asia Pacific for YouTube. We just saw a video, Gangnam Style. What is the message? What is YouTube doing in Asia? How is the music business changing?
First of all, I think music is very important to Google. So right from the inception of YouTube, in 2005, we started, signing partnerships with the music industry. So we signed partnership with UMG, Warner, and so forth. But now we are expanding into Asia. So in Asia, we signed partnerships all around the region with Korean companies, Japanese companies, and I believe what we really provide as an opportunity for them is to reach out to other countries. So obviously, YouTube is a global platform, and we can give them the opportunity to reach out to the US, to reach out to Europe. And I think Gangnam Style is a very good example, right? Because they could reach an audience actually outside of Korea. Just to give you a number, only 6% of the views from Gangnam Style are coming from the Korean market. So that's actually really, really impressive.
94% of it is international traffic.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in terms of numbers as well, we just reached an impressive milestone. We have now 1 billion unique users on YouTube every month. So the music industry in Asia can really benefit from that reach.
Okay, how does that relate to startups? Is this changing the model of startups for music groups, for musicians?
You know, we see a lot of companies creating businesses only for YouTube. We see that trend in the US, and it's also coming, in Europe and in Asia. We believe that we can really provide them the opportunity to generate significant revenues. And in order to help them, we open creator spaces in Los Angeles, in London, and also in Tokyo to help creators and startups to create content for the YouTube platform. So for us, the plan is to create an ecosystem around YouTube. We don't produce content, but the opportunity for us is to help those creators to create content and build a sustainable business on YouTube.
Besides Gangnam Style, what are some other examples coming out of the Asia Pacific region that you'd highlight in terms of music?
We have been very lucky, actually, in Asia because we had Gangnam Style last year, and we also had Gautier, somebody I used to know, that has been very popular on YouTube, and specifically in the US and in the UK as well.
Okay, excellent. Edge, you work at KPMG, doing a lot of innovation work. From your perspective, you've heard a lot today about startups. You're not coming to this from the startup perspective. KPMG is not quite a startup.
No, not really, no.
What is your take on some of the issues you've heard here today in terms of Hong Kong, the difficulties of doing a startup, whether Hong Kong is the right place, and what startups have to do to convince non-startups that they are worthy of backing?
Yeah, I mean, if I can just come back, one of the things that we have to really take into account, and why Hong Kong is important, or even...
By the way,
okay,
the accountants are very important if you're doing a startup.
Very important. But just to come back, it's like, and I think YouTube showed it, is that what we've seen a trend, and this is where I think the startups in Hong Kong, and literally Asia and China should be playing towards, and I know we've talked about this before, is on that whole online space. We've just done a study of 10,000 consumers and consumer groups. The Asian consumer is changing the way we're buying, and the buying patterns are changing. The way we look at stuff online, the way we're driving it. I mean, if you remember Gangnam Style, it was very much a Korean-driven thing, but you guys brought it to the world. There's stuff that's coming out of here that people are starting to take note of. And how do you make yourself relevant? Is how relevant are you ultimately to the end consumer? I know we're all talking about how do we get funding, but nobody's interested in putting something in funding if you know the consumer's not buying it. And to me, this whole side of what the consumer's doing in Asia, this is where's the gateway for Hong Kong. If the guys entrepreneur want to play, I thought Anu made a great point. It was a fantastic point. Stop looking just to Hong Kong, because the danger of a conversation, and by the way, I keep telling everybody, I know Rebecca knows, I go right across for Silicon Dragon, we're a big sponsor. I keep telling everybody I'm Chinese. And the reason I'm now Chinese and not Australian is this conversation, how relevant Australia is in this market, is because they've just focused on Australia. You've got to look to the global market. And the global market, a lot of it's to the side of the world. I mean, this is where, taking it like on the YouTube and the Gangnam Style, what I liked about it, it came from Asia. Everyone said it's not going to work, but the viral effect of something new and relevant to what let's say the generation wants to see, that's what it's about. To be a successful entrepreneur, demonstrate you can actually get something to the consumer. And let me tell you, the Asian consumer is changing the planet. We're seeing it in every aspect.
From the perspective of multinationals who might work with a startup, what would be the top tips or points that a startup would have to think in mind in terms of either acquisition or a partnership?
Making money and serving those consumers. I mean, when there was a discussion I saw on one of the Twitters about Hong Kong and Singapore. Singapore is going for their market. And that's why I like what the guys in Invest in Hong Kong are now starting to do, is how do we get to our market and that global market and making themselves relevant? It's got to be to what the consumers want. And the consumers are changing. They are absolutely changing. I mean, I'll tell you, if we talked about Gangnam Style and you predicted something like that was going to happen, most folks will say, ain't going to happen. But what actually happened is the next generation showed us what this new technology is doing and what are they going to buy off that. It's that change that everyone's got to look at, and they've got to look at it.
Anthony, in terms of this change, comparing YouTube usage in terms of the music industry in Asia versus other parts of the world? Is Asia ahead in this model of leveraging online platforms to develop music careers? Behind? Where does it stand? Is this somewhere where we can take lessons to bring elsewhere, or are there lessons to bring in?
I think there are, two interesting trends in Asia. The first one is this market is very local, as opposed to Europe or even the US, right?
There's no Asia Vision pop contest.
So actually, what is actually important to say is that K-pop and C-pop and J-pop or Bollywood music are
to their market, and almost Gangnam Style is the counter.
Absolutely, and K-pop is traveling well as well around the region. So local music is very popular here as opposed to international music. So that's the first thing. There is a strong shift to mobile devices in this part of the world. I think you agree. Specifically in the northern part of Asia, like Japan and Korea. In Korea, we have the majority of the views on YouTube coming from mobile devices. So that's actually quite interesting. And for us, it's important to embrace this usage and make sure that we provide, a consistent experience across devices. And that's the reason why we recently revamped the website, to make sure that the experience is consistent across all devices, TV, gaming console, and mobile and tablets.
So key difference is one, local, to mobile devices. In terms of the business model or breaking in, is the relevance of record companies gone down faster in Asia than it has elsewhere?
Yeah, I think, pretty much everywhere in Asia, our partners are very engaged. They make the most of the platform, specifically in countries such as India, Korea, and also in Southeast Asia. Japan is still, kind of a different planet because the physical distribution market is very strong. 85% of the revenues in Japan are coming from physical distribution. So obviously for us, it's a
people are buying records or CDs?
Yeah, absolutely. And the price is kind of regulated as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're buying CDs and stuff. I think it's all the online stuff. But again, go back to the study we just did, and it's released this week. In Beijing and Shanghai, there are 5 to 6 devices. In Hong Kong, 4 devices that a person will have, mobile devices. You compare it to New York and London, it's 1 to 2. Now that sounds like an exciting stat. That's not the exciting stat. What they're doing is buying online. That's why the online market and what's happening online with all that YouTube and everything else, that's why it's so exciting, and what I think where Hong Kong has got to play, because the consumer is changing the way they're buying. And you have to look to that ultimate end. We may have investment bankers here and stuff, but that's great, but you're dealing with other corporates. Look to what the consumer is doing. The consumer is shifting. And the guys in Asia, especially in China and Hong Kong, we are buying differently. We are starting to buy differently. So that's where an entrepreneur, how can you jump into that?
What is the role of the entrepreneur in that system?
Get me a product that I can buy online and that can serve my needs. That's ultimately what everybody wants. That's what YouTube serves a need. And let me tell you, my youngest daughter, when you said the devices, I've got a 13 and 10-year-old. They've got their iPhone. And by the way, anybody from Apple, I don't like any of you guys. I spend all that money on these devices. They jump between different devices. And they're looking at their favorite music videos. They're looking, and they're buying stuff online too as well. That's what they're starting to do. And on the move. That's what they're doing. And so being able to offer services and products in that space, and anybody can play to a global market. I do like the thing about going for your dream, because if you just play to Hong Kong, you're going to end up very small. But play to the global market. The global market's changing, and it's what the consumer's doing is what's relevant here.
Let's do a quick poll of this audience in terms of mobile, just in terms of how it's integrated into people's lives. How many people use their mobile phone as an alarm clock to wake up this morning? Fritz did not.
Someone's going to ask another question. Does anybody use their mobile phone to talk to anybody anymore?
Who did not talk on their mobile phone
Who did not talk on their mobile phone today? Yeah, there you go.
Whose next purchase of a mobile phone is going to be an iPhone?
Don't worry, Hong Kong, everyone's got
an Samsung? It's a tie. BlackBerry?
2 or 3. No, but the question I'd ask too is that what are you actually doing on that device? I mean, to me, what I'm really fascinated, and when we do a stat on this, is if I look at mobile payments, the payment side, what's happening in China and even here in Hong Kong, people are trying to innovate. And because as we move towards that space, everybody can play, but you've got to have something that everybody wants. And this is an exciting market for it. But I thought there was a point made a little bit earlier about it is crowded. It is crowded for one reason. Everybody knows that this is the market to go to. That's why it's crowded. You have to make yourself a different niche.
What is your tip for somebody who's trying to break into music via YouTube? What are the things that successful acts have done or people who have leveraged the platform most successfully?
No, it's a very good point. And just to talk about the example of Gangnam Style, what they did is they specifically encouraged people to upload parody. Yeah. And that's the reason why, one of the reasons why Gangnam Style has been very popular.
So they weren't trying to strictly guard their IP in the sense of stop doing this, don't use it.
Yeah, exactly. They use a technology on YouTube called Content ID, which is a fingerprinting technology, in order to give you the opportunity to monetize user-uploaded videos. So basically, they encourage...
They encouraged other people to make money.
No, they encourage people to upload and they make money out of it. Because those people were...
The revenue goes back to
the rights holder.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Exactly. And I think, if you encourage people to take ownership of your video, then, the video is starting to be viral.
The power of getting others to share it. Beyond mobile, what is the big trend, Edge, that you see in Asia?
Beyond mobile. I'm really actually quite excited by mobile for the one reason is that if you go back to what I said about the consumer behavior, is that I'm being able to buy anything that I want anywhere, anytime, when I want it. And I can look at videos when I want it. One of my favorite stores, and I hope no one's here, but from HMV, was my favorite store. But gee, when you can get it downloaded from iTunes or get stuff from YouTube, things have changed, right? And so to be able to do that, I think what we're going to see, and with the global market that we have, and it is becoming a global market in China, I do include Hong Kong in this, is that there's going to be just more and more innovative ways of actually buying online. Now, the mobile side is just the freedom independence. That's what everybody looks at, it's the hardware. It's the software and the apps that people are developing. I think there was one of the VC folks talked about the different apps, and you guys developing different apps to try to monetize it. This is an exciting place. I think the apps themselves are going to be developed out of here in Asia, and more folks investing in that. That's where I think is going to be the most exciting time. We haven't seen all the best yet.
Okay, exciting views and perspectives from two rather large companies and their take on Asia and what's happening. Are there any questions that anybody would like to ask them about how they can become a star on YouTube? Yes, Rebecca. What's your song?
Wait, what's more important, making money or making music?
Both.
So your question is partner making money on YouTube, generally? Yeah, talking specifically about the music industry, I can tell you that this past 2 years, we give back $500 million to the music industry globally. So now we reach a tipping point where the music industry start to see a real business opportunity with YouTube on top of the promotional opportunity. And our partners' revenues are growing. I think we double the revenues every year for 4 years in a row now. So it's really growing pretty quickly. And the business model is based on advertising mainly.
Questions, thoughts? In the back, can we get a microphone? Yeah, okay.
Thanks. Hi, my name is Fanny. I'm from China Merchant Securities. I have also a question about music. Copyright has always been one of the issues for online music industry. And we have seen examples, for example, like some records played by German orchestras can be viewed everywhere on YouTube except in Germany. So how do you find the possibility it is to get all those record companies involved and get all of the music sharing on YouTube to be legal? Is it a possibility of doing that? Thanks.
I think there are, two answers to this question. First of all, there are, We give the opportunity to our partner to manage their rights on the YouTube platform. So sometimes they can block the content in some countries when they don't hold the rights. To talk specifically about Germany, in Germany specifically, there are some publishing issues, and that's the reason why that some of the music content is actually blocked there. But we are working on resolving this specific situation in Germany.
Are there many countries in Asia that have a similar situation to what Germany has in terms of copyright?
In Asia, we have deals in place with pretty much all collection societies where YouTube is actually localized. For those of you who don't know what is a collection society, it's actually a company that is actually managing the rights of composers and authors. And we have deals in place with companies like Cash in Hong Kong, Compass in Singapore, in order to share revenues with composers and authors in this region.
So, Thomas, can I just use an example? One of my favorite bands, you may not even have heard of it, called First Aid Kit. They couldn't even
They're
get
called
First Aid Kit. Two young girls.
What genre of music is this, Edge?
Alternative, country sort of stuff. Not that I'm into country,
You
but it's
didn't-
alternative.
You didn't
No,
strike me as kind of a
wait.
country guy.
No, but I want to use an example. They could not get any money, nothing to help anybody help these guys to actually do it. They went on YouTube to put out, and it went viral. All of a sudden, they got there and they got the contracts. So if you're an entrepreneur or like an early musician, how do you get your voice out there and get the music that is really, really good out there? So they got onto a platform like YouTube. Everybody liked it. Then the record contracts came. It is a win-win. This thing about saying, how do we make money? We are making money. We're just making it differently than we did before. There's many, many examples where this platform can actually help record companies, us, to identify these are the new folks that are coming out.
And obviously, there are the revenues that you can generate on YouTube, plus also all the revenues that you can also generate thanks to YouTube outside of YouTube, like merchandising and everything.
Sponsorship and other aspects. Okay, Napoleon, you had a question.
Thank you. The question was that I understand, we're talking about startups and VCs here, right? So in the States, I think YouTube is funding or buying content, funding people to produce shows. Are you going to see that happen here in Asia, where you won't be just a platform, but you'll actually fund the creation of content?
So we remain a platform, so we are not producing or buying content. The reason why we decided, to fund some initiative in the US, but also in Europe and also in Japan, is really to kickstart an initiative and to create an ecosystem around YouTube. But the idea is actually to have people starting to generate money on YouTube and to create a business that is sustainable only on the YouTube platform. And that's the reason why we open studios, facilities in LA, in London, and also in Tokyo. It's actually not to produce content, but actually to coach creators in order to help them producing content.
But Hong Kong is the center of film production. Why haven't you opened a studio here to bring back some production to this market?
The first studio we opened was in London 6 months ago. We opened, LA 3 months ago, and like a few weeks ago we opened in Tokyo. So it's really a new initiative, and we are currently looking at other countries to expand.
So maybe Hong Kong next.
Who knows?
Napoleon, your next album. Okay, I think that's all we have time for. Thank you very much, Ed, Anthony, and for great insights on startups and multinationals.
I'm a big fan, so.
I think also what's interesting, thank you very much, Thomas, Edge, and Anthony. I also think it's interesting all the different Asia music that is on YouTube, and I think that was the point of the video in the beginning, and I think it just showcases the range of music styles. And I also YouTube showcases the opportunity to use YouTube as a branding platform and a platform for a startup to catch hold and make a name for itself. So it's probably overlooked in that way.